it. Well, the main celebrations did happen at, of course, the Kololo Independence Grounds. Of course, the invitations were limited to a very few number of people because of what we are going through. We're still fighting the COVID-19 and, of course, the outbreak of Ebola, so they did not want to take chances. But at the end of the day, Ugandans did take part. All those that were able to watch UBC TV to follow the proceedings, I must say that you should be happy with what you saw. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you for joining us. It's Monday, the 11th of October, 2022. My name is Philomena, Mastiko, and we are back. Yes, for those of you who are not really fully involved in the celebrations, whatever you were doing, I hope that it really brought some peace to you. Well, this morning, of course, it is a full house. I do have with me Mollen, I do have with me Felix Nkunda, and of course, the man himself, that is Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. I would really love to know, I would just to get a picture of what they were going through or what they did over the weekend from Friday. Much as very many Ugandans were excited. Of course, excitement was also right here on set with you. Maybe just to start off with Mollen. Good morning, Mollen. Welcome back from the Independence Weekend.
Thank you. It's a very good morning indeed. And I want to extend that to Ugandans. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Well, Uganda is old, and I think you have started now counting another year. This is just day one. We could be looking at the 61st year. But I will tell you, this weekend was really a highlight with Independence Day celebrations, but also what we saw in Kololo. I mean, Uganda is really going ahead. We saw those, paratroopers, the skydiving. You would think that it was like a movie scene, but hey, it was Uganda. And the president did emphasize by saying, well, if people are doubting and, they just have to come and see what is happening. And this is what we are showing you. So I think we have really come a long way when it comes to aviation and making sure that we have enough ground for our military power. And that was really fascinating to see. But also seeing as how the president also took pride in our relationship with Tanzania, especially with the oil project,
Yes.
the pipeline. He did really emphasize on that point, saying that if some people are not ready to back us, we do have, other partners that are willing and, very, very, very much fascinated by what Uganda is doing. And that's how far development is going. And look, we are actually in a middle income status. If a lot of people are not clicking with that, we're actually going ahead. And with these celebrations, you could see that every Ugandan actually was in there. I could see all the status, all the posts that were coming up. Everyone is a proud Ugandan. And I think if we continue with that spirit, we could actually be going a long way. But also seeing as to how many heads of states were around and the words they had to say about Uganda, to me, that spoke a lot, because they were all praising what President Museveni has done in his leadership, but also how far Uganda has come within these 60 years, taking a lead on most things across Africa. And of course, all of them had a much similar message of, brotherhood, of, unity across Africa. And that's how much we can contribute if we work together to make sure that we all at least get into the standards that the so-called developed countries have actually risen to, because they also didn't build up in a single day. Like the famous saying, Rome wasn't built in just a single day.
Absolutely.
So I think we can get there, and it's going to take every Ugandan, it's going to take every African to get us that status.
Yes, and indeed, if we're celebrating 60 years, clearly it says that we're still onto that road of progress. We haven't done it all, but we have done something. Good morning, Robert. I know that you were on the grounds yesterday. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Good morning, team, and good morning, our viewers. Well, Sunday I was here doing some bit of independence work.
Yes.
And I think I spoke so much regarding independence. But one unique thing about these celebrations, yes, Mollen has said it all, but I think for me it was the wise decision of His Excellency to say that let's not have the awarding of medals this time.
Yes.
Let's extend that for next year, because I wanted to keep the function a bit, we are in a time of COVID-19, that is one, and we have the outbreak of Ebola, but also to limit the number of people there, because only 800 were invited guests. So I found that, yes, I know those that could miss, but in one way or the other, it shows how serious His Excellency is about the life of people. Also, I was very impressed, to be honest, with the spirit of brotherhood that was exhibited within the East African community.
Yes.
We had about 5 heads of state. We had Somalia, we had Burundi, we had Kenya, we had one from Zanzibar, and all these 5 spoke with one voice when it came to the oil pipeline.
Yes.
I was like, are these Ugandan presidents or they are presidents from other country? Showing how this must go on, how they are supporting us, how we must have this project. And I'm like, yes, we are no longer split because of our borders, we are united. And when it comes also to the theme, I think that properly brought out the meaning and the unity. And I say, and in my heart I was like, we've now achieved it. Yes, there are still some policies and all that, but at least we see that we all feel we are East Africans. We don't feel we are Kenyans, we don't feel we are Tanzanians, we don't feel we are people from Burundi, we don't feel we are people from, even as far as Somalia, one voice. And for me, I think that was my greatest joy in these celebrations. That oneness, not just speaking, but seeing this concerns us as East Africans. So we must support this noble cause. I felt happy that we at least got into that step.
Well, it wouldn't be the East African community, of course, without acts like this, without our brothers and sisters from all over the East African bloc engaging themselves politically, economically, socially, in aspects, of course, aspects like those, and also being able to wish us well and show us that they will always be there to fully support us on all realms. But also the man that we missed from last week, that is Felix Nkunda. Good morning, welcome back. We hope you had a good time wherever you were, and welcome back from the Independence weekend.
Thank you, Philo. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Clearly, you're still stuck in the madness of love. I see you're donned in red and
love.
Well,
I mean, what's the world without love?
oh well, yeah. Probably you're feeling on the fact that you need to fill your cup high and high till you've been able to give some of that.
Yes. Probably
people around you will definitely benefit from that red. But nevertheless, good morning to everyone and good morning to the team. Well, about the weekend, Independence weekend, for some people it was a loss. They should expect it to be probably in one of the days of the week, maybe a Monday, Tuesday, so they can have a public holiday. But being on Sunday, it was more or less almost not recognized by many people, because I mean, it's a weekend, Sunday, everyone is up and about their own activities. So I think that was a challenge for me, basically. But I know for a fact that some of the sentiments that were put out there by the presidents of different countries in East Africa probably will give us a peek and peak photo for us to do our discussion much later. But still about the same, again, independence. Most of Ugandans seemingly have not interested themselves in such celebrations, because most of the national celebrations of independence are about government issues. I think for me what I observed was a lack of inclusiveness of the nation at large. Away from the Kololo things, the speech, and which is decorum, which is that is protocol, but many Ugandans are not involved in the celebrations. I think we need to have a discussion into getting some activities that engage all Ugandans, probably ahead of the independence. If we can have maybe some of any activities other countries do, like
aside from the physical celebration.
Yes, other countries do carnivals that involve nations, you know, youth and what. Some people go to cleaning campaigns. They do all these kind of things in cities. Like the city like Kampala, it was almost not cognizant that there was celebrations of independence away from the flags.
You moved around. The way people took it upon themselves to actually celebrate. People were wrapping themselves with flags. Not to mention there was actually some concerts going on that I saw a lot of Ugandans going for. So I think the mood was there, just not, you know, on a national level. But people were, I was surprised how people were getting the flags on themselves and going for different concerts around the city. I think that's just individual effort to celebrate.
Individual effort is really appreciated, but I'm talking about like national effort, inclusiveness. And this is the only way Ugandans are going to feel a part of some of these celebrations, away from just the Kololo issues and all that. So we need to change a little bit. As I've said, some countries hold festivals. There's a time I was somewhere in South America, and it was so beautiful. People travel from all the outskirts of the country to come to the town in a place called, I think the city was called Sao Paulo in Brazil. But for their independence, they do a carnival. It's a full week thing. Like, people really feel part of, you know, yeah, fireworks, as you did say, like, but these things of saying you're inviting 800 people, then you give speech. Some people don't understand these things of oil, Yoruba, and Manya. There are youth who want to be like inclusiveness. If it's about probably organizing a national march, you know. But you can imagine on the festival of independence, there was a Nigerian artist in Kampala having a show or something. Like, you know,
need to get
yeah, on the eve of
ways
independence, what activities? We must include Ugandans away from these long speeches. Some people are not really interested, by the way, in those things. And probably that's, for me, the thing that I noticed, that many Ugandans need to, for example, people in Kabula Soke, you know, people in all those things matter. As I've said, we should have a whole month for the preparation, a whole nationwide activities. You go to the eastern region, western region, central region, then you can have the climax at Kololo for your few guests.
Yeah, it should be a massive but also very a bit constructive celebrations, in other words. Well, it was the 60th independence of Uganda, and hopefully when we are celebrating the 61st birthday of Uganda, or Independence Day of Uganda, well, a lot will be put into there. And maybe by then we'll be clear of all these hindrances that we have, COVID-19, Ebola, and any other, so that we have the country fully partake in the celebrations, both at national level and also at individual level. Well, a lot is still going on. We still do have Ebola in the country, but also, at least I'm happy, at least as of Friday, we had 3 more recoveries, according to the information that was put out by the Ministry of Health, of course, through their minister, that is Dr. Ruth Jane Acheng. Well, we hope that we can hear more stories of these, but also you need to stay on the alert and be very cautious. Just because we're having recoveries does not necessarily mean that we are done with Ebola. Please look out for good and very valid information from valid sources to make sure that you don't get yourself misinformed. A lot happening, local scene, international scene, stories are riling up and about. Well, right now we'll be going through some of the stories locally, and Roberts, you have us this morning.
And we'll begin with what happened yesterday at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, where the 60th independence anniversary was marked with pomp, and the ceremony was held at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni officiated the ceremony that was attended by 5 heads of states and delegates from neighboring countries. Men and women in uniform made the celebrations colorful with their parade. The display of Air Force military capabilities and military strength by flying past Kololo added more flavor to the celebrations. It ranged from caravan fly past to helicopters carrying Uganda flag dropping down of the first ever paratroopers the country has ever got. There was also an exhibition of science innovation that included electric bikes, electric buses, among others, that are made in Uganda by Ugandans. During the function, President Yoweri Museveni, who was in company of 5 other African heads of state in attendance, condemned the exporting of African products in raw form.
Also in local stories, heads of states from East Africa and other African countries have graced the 60th independence anniversary of Uganda at Kololo Independence Grounds at the invitation of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Among those in attendance, persons do include the President of Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Zanzibar, and economic transformation is what dominated the heads of states' addresses. Kenya President William Ruto declared his commitment to eliminating borders that separate the people of East Africa as a rejoinder to the host President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Ruto instructed Kenya's Minister of Trade to work with Ugandan counterparts to formulate guided trade agreements to facilitate Africa's continental free trade area to harness opportunities for investment. Now, Tanzania is proud that the East African crude oil pipeline will attract investment and improve the livelihood of people. And also South Sudan President Salva Kiir hailed men and women who sacrificed their lives to liberate Uganda from the hands of the colonialists.
Now, moving away from what transpired at ceremonial grounds, we now look at the plight of refugees in agriculture, where refugees participating in block farming in Ajumani district are now donating cassava cuttings to their fellow refugees within West Nile. This is as a result of the surplus cuttings they have in their gardens after harvest, sell and planting some in their block farms. Refugee farmers at Palangwenya settlement practicing communal block farming have donated 500 bags of cassava cuttings to fellow refugees in Yumbe and those within Ajumani district. Through Ajumani district local government and Action Against Hunger, landlords donate land for block farming where both refugees and locals in Dizapi and Okujuni sub-counties grow cassava on top of kitchen gardening in their camps.
Now, the Indian community in Uganda have marked celebrations of good over evil, also known as Dussehra Day. The event, which was officiated by the Minister of Health, Dr. Ruth Aceng, saw symbolic burning of evil spectre with fireworks to mark its defeat. The Indian community in Uganda have marked a celebration of the Day of Good over Evil. During the celebrations, a symbolic, that is a phantom, was burnt to signify triumph of good over evil with fireworks in celebration of the defeat of the evil.
Now, looking at some of the international stories, police in India have shot dead a tiger after it killed at least 9 people in Champaran, Bihar state. Dubbed the man-eater of Champaran, the beast was killed after a hunt by around 200 police officers and district officials. Some officers patrolled on elephants to find it. The male tiger had been terrorizing communities around the Valmiki Tiger Reserve. India is a home to more than 70% of the world's wild tigers. India's tiger reserves, protected areas where the animals can live, have not expanded at the same rate as its tiger population. That has forced some big cats to turn to human-dominated landscapes for survival, which leads to livestock and sometimes people being killed. The operation was led by Bihar police, who surrounded a sugarcane field near the village of Sitaltola, Balua, to kill the 3-year-old tiger known as the T104. Crossing over to Iranian leaders. Now, the leaders of 3 branches of power in Iran held a meeting as protests that erupted across the country over the death of Mahsa Amini in police custody entered a 4th week. President Ibrahim Raisi sat down with Parliament Speaker Muhammad Bagher Ghalibaf and Judiciary Chief Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejei in the presidential building in Tehran, led on Saturday to emphasize the need for security and calm to sustain the country's economy and people's livelihoods. At the moment, the Iranian society needs a unity among all groups, regardless of language, religion, or ethnicity, to overcome hostility and division by Iran's enemies. A short statement published on the president's website said. The capital Tehran and cities across the country saw continued unrest on Saturday as internet restrictions imposed several weeks ago remained in place.
Well, now back to Africa. Former South African President Jacob Zuma has been freed following the expiry of his prison sentence for the contempt of court. Now, the government said on Friday Zuma received a 15-month sentence last year after he ignored instructions to participate in a corruption inquiry. He handed himself on July 7th last year to begin his sentence, triggering the worst violence South Africa had seen in years as his angry supporters took to the streets. It's official, His Excellency President Zuma is now a free man, the Jacob Zuma Foundation said in a tweet. Now, in September 2021, Zuma was released on medical parole, but in December, the High Court set aside the parole decision and ordered him to return to jail. Now, Zuma appealed the ruling and remained on parole pending the appeal outcome. Now, his appeal had not been determined by the time his sentence expired. And in Egypt, global climate conferences have almost always been accompanied by a big vocal activist presence, but this November's COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh might look and sound rather different. Over the past decade, Egypt, the host country, has all but banned protest and cracked down on independent civil society action as it has become increasingly autocratic. Now, this has led to skepticism among the international and local NGOs about whether they will be able to participate in the discussions, later on effectively influence proceedings, as senior Egyptian officials have promised that in this instance, at least, protest will be permitted. Now, Shukri pledged in May, the former minister Sham Shukri pledged to have a facility adjacent to the conference center that will provide the full opportunity for participation of activism, demonstration, and voicing that opinion. But while some Egyptian activists say government engagement in the run-up to COP have been better than they have been experienced, and many feel that it is still insufficient and has mostly come from less powerful parts of the government.
Well, away from that, and of course, talking about health, today, the 10th of October 2022, is actually World Mental Health Day. Now, of course, the very first celebration did happen in the year 1992, same date, and thereafter, it became an annual celebration. Why do we have to talk about mental health? Very many things, very many reasons as to why. Right now, as we stand, there are very many things that come into play that affect mental health. So, in other words, as a human being, as an individual, you need to be a little bit more sensitive about this. You need to make sure that you are self-aware, but you can also be part of creating awareness to all the people who know what this is or what it is not, and we educate ourselves. How can we help the victims? How can we cut out the things that will lead to bad mental health? At the end of the day, it affects us, and as the years go by, more reasons and more factors are coming into play that have actually increased this whole mental health conversation and discussion, looking at children, looking at women, looking at trauma, looking at war, looking at differences in society. All these things actually can be a cause for discussion, especially when it comes to their contribution to mental health of societies in different countries. So today, while you're going by your Monday, make sure that you have that at the back of your mind. But also, another information and message you should carry across as the Monday starts or the week starts is something that Robert has to share with you this morning.
Well, I can't get tired of reminding you that your health is your priority and you need to boost your immune system so that you're able to fight off a number of diseases. The products I'm holding here, this is Hallelujah Jinga Tea drink, this is Hallelujah Banana Fruit Juice drink, and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. Now what these do is their immune boosters. At just 1,500, you can get yourself a bottle, and I guarantee you, these will save you so much money that you would spend when you fall sick. Prevention has always been better than cure.
We're going in for the Monday inspirational song to help you kickstart the day, but also most importantly to help you kickstart the week. We want to cut out the Monday blues for you completely, or maybe we want to do it partially, and then we can leave the rest to you. When we get back, of course, we'll be having more discussions in the Good Morning Ugandan newsreel. We also do have more updates that will be coming in from the weather and climate, and of course talking about traffic. How are the roads doing this morning? Make sure you just stick around with us to know all that. Get onto our socials. Twitter, the hashtag is UBCGMU, and see what we are up to. And most importantly, you can also be part of all these discussions. Good morning. We'll be back shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome back from that very long weekend. I must say thank you for being able to, get back into the celebrations that did happen yesterday of the Independence Day of Uganda, making 60 years. I must say Kampala did quite a very good job getting themselves involved. The whole city was clad in black, yellow and red. Clearly, we do have the spirit of the country at heart, and we have to continue celebrating it. Well, the main celebrations did happen at, of course, the Kololo Independence Grounds. Of course, the invitations were limited to a very few number of people because of what we are going through. We're still fighting the COVID-19 and, of course, the outbreak of Ebola, so they did not want to take chances. But at the end of the day, Ugandans did take part. All those that were able to watch UBC TV to follow the proceedings, I must say that you should be happy with what you saw. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you for joining us. It's Monday, the 11th of October, 2022. My name is Philomena, and we are back. Yes, for those of you who are not really fully involved in the celebrations, whatever you were doing, I hope that it really brought some peace to you. Well, this morning, of course, it is a full house. I do have with me Mollen, I do have with me Felix Nkunda, and of course the man himself, that is Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. I would really love to know, I would just to get a picture of what they were going through or what they did over the weekend from Friday. Much as very many Ugandans were excited. Of course, excitement was also right here on set with you. Maybe just to start off with Mollen. Good morning, Mollen. Welcome back from the Independence weekend.
Thank you. It's a very good morning indeed. And I want to extend that to Ugandans. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Well, Uganda is old, and I think you have started now counting another year. This is just day one. We could be looking at the 61st year. But I will tell you, this weekend was really a highlight with Independence Day celebrations, but also what we saw in Kololo. I mean, Uganda is really going ahead. We saw those, paratroopers, the skydiving. You would think that it was like a movie scene, but hey, it was Uganda. And the president did emphasize by saying, well, if people are doubting and, they just have to come and see what is happening. And this is what we are showing you. So I think we have really come a long way when it comes to aviation and making sure that we have enough ground for our military power. And that was really fascinating to see, but also seeing as how the president also took pride in our relationship with Tanzania, especially with the oil project, the pipeline. He did really emphasize on that point, saying that if some people are not ready to back us, we do have, other partners that are willing and, very, very, very much fascinated by what Uganda is doing. And that's how far development is going. And look, we are actually in a middle income status. If a lot of people are not clicking with that, we're actually going ahead. And with these celebrations, you could see that every Ugandan actually was in there. I could see all the status, all the posts that were coming up. Everyone is proud proud Ugandan. And I think if we continue with that spirit, we could actually be going a long way. But also seeing as to how many heads of states were around and the words they had to say about Uganda, to me that spoke a lot, because they were all praising what President Museveni has done in his leadership, but also how far Uganda has come within these 60 years, taking a lead on most things across Africa. And of course, all of them had a much similar message of, brotherhood, of, unity across Africa. And that's how much we can contribute if we work together to make sure that we all at least get into the standards that the so-called developed countries have actually risen to, because they also didn't build up in a single day. Like the famous saying, Rome wasn't built in just a single day.
Absolutely.
So I think we can get there, and it's going to take every Ugandan, it's going to take every African to get us that status.
Yes, and indeed, if we're celebrating 60 years, clearly it says that we're still onto that road of progress.
Ballas, mpola mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly, or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone, the most affordable smartphone in Uganda. You get to enjoy free 1 GB for the next 11 months. My Airtel 4G smartphone, your best value for money. Visit the nearest Airtel outlet today and get one at only 250,000 Uganda shillings. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. 3 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. You are watching us live, of course, from UBC TV. And of course, every other single morning, this is the time we have a discussion that is really part of us. I mean, when it comes from the social aspects, when it comes from the economical aspects, when it comes from the political aspects, well, be certain that we will talk about it. When I say we, of course, I mean myself, Philomena Mastiko, Robert, and Felix Nkunda. Now, today is a very, very special day, something that we have to talk about, something that is within us, something that we all ought to have, but the stature in which you have it is the question here. I'm talking about mental health. Mental health definitely is crucial for everyone, and if it is good mental health, then the better. But if your mental health is really being sabotaged by all things around you, clearly then there is a problem. Now, of course, as an individual, as a person, mental health really refers to the psychological way you deal with things, or the way they affect you. Now, this, if they're not affecting you in a good way, clearly we know that there is a very heavy aftermath. Well, if you don't know, then we will be letting you know of what it could cost you. Now, today being, of course, the World Mental Health Day, just to let you know, this year's celebrations will be under the theme, Make Mental Health and Well-Being for All a Global Priority. Make mental health and well-being for all a global priority. Now, of course, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we react towards certain things all stems from our mental health. Are we stable when it comes to our mental thinking, mental behavioral changes? Well, this morning I do have Felix here and Robert to help me navigate through this, and of course looking at it from a Ugandan general overview or perspective. Now we know that this has been quite a challenge, not only here in Uganda but also in the East African bloc, but even global wise. And I mean, this is a challenge that we are all still struggling to, you know, get a hold of, to grip it and make sure that we put it to the end. But before we get into all that, according to the theme, maybe just to start off with you, Robert, before we get into the causes, the challenges, you know, the implications, how would you rate Uganda when it comes to handling mental health issues?
I would say we are doing very bad. Very bad, because I was reading statistics from the World Health Organization, and they say Uganda is among the top 6 countries in Africa that have high cases of mental challenges. And when you look at, still these statistics go back to give you how much we allocate to mental health as a country. And you find that much as we have challenges with our health system, mental health has not been a priority. That is why you only have one hospital, that is the National Referral Mental Hospital, that is Butabika. And if you look at these statistics, how much is given per Ugandan in terms of treatment, I want to tell you, you'll be shocked how much goes to mental health. So I wouldn't say that we've made any strides. Actually, the few breakthroughs we've made are a result of non-government organizations.
Yes.
NGOs, Mental Health Uganda, we can mention them. There are quite a number, and maybe that would credit government for having allowed them to work in Uganda. Because today, many people that are mentally sick, actually, even before we go any further, Philo, we must know that anyone is vulnerable to mental illness. Anyone. In my line of duty as a journalist, I remember one time we were coming from an election, and we were taken to Butabika. I think they were finishing a new ward, donated and something like that. But I want to tell you, and I speak this, because I remember one of us was beaten even a finger. He tried to speak to one famous person, I won't mention, health things are private. But do you know how many politicians end up in Butabika shortly after elections? I was shocked. There were a number of politicians. They even have a ward there. Do you know how many children of VIPs are in rehab? You know? How many CEOs? How the only thing with health is these are private issues.
Yes.
But if you ever go and analyze, of course this is not ethical in the medical profession, but you'll be shocked with the findings of the people that are in Butabika. So as we are discussing mental health, anyone is a potential person. I know of a woman just after a failed marriage.
Yes.
She couldn't handle it. I know of one who just found out that the husband had a family outside, they had 4 children, and she failed to handle it. People who've lost jobs. COVID-19, mental health increased. So we must discuss this thing knowing that anyone is a potential. We are all vulnerable at whatever level you are. You don't know what can kick you off. Then there are sicknesses that come.
Yes.
Someone gets cerebral malaria. Someone gets a number of diseases and they end up there. But what is hurting is, how are we handling this? We still have issues. He must have done something wrong to somebody. That is witchcraft. Our child has excelled, our son has excelled. Now someone has gone to the these sorcerers and all that. Bamuloze. Bamuloze daromana yatabuso mutwe. Now we have those that point fingers. That one is as a result of drug abuse, no doubt. We have actually, they told us that now over 60% of the people there as a result of drug and substance abuse. So there are many challenges, yet we are all potential victims to having mental health problems. But that is the biggest problem. We've not made it a priority in terms of treatment. You can't tell me of a population of about 45 people. We've not yet had a census, that you have one hospital, not regional. When we go to treatment, I want to tell you, if you know any people that are expensive, go and look for a psychiatrist.
Okay.
That special, would I use doctor, who handles persons with mental illness, psychiatrists, their consultation. If you want to ask anyone who has gone to this mental referral hospital and they have just gone for rehab, maybe they have messed their eye for alcohol or what, they'll tell you the private wing is extremely expensive. And this other wing built by government, we all know government health facilities. The weight, the situation, everything. If you go to a government hospital and you find that treatment wanting, yet this is a person in their normal sense, maybe they have an attendant. Now think about what happens in a mental hospital. What happens there, where they don't even have so many people to look after them, the treatment. We are still not doing good, yet we are among the top 6 countries in Africa with this problem.
Well, speaking of mental health, according to World Health Organization, they did point out that before COVID-19 came into play, that was back in 2019, 1 of 8 people in the world was at least affected by one problem, and it was directly affecting their mental health. Now, when COVID-19 came in, it kind of escalated the problem. It acted like a catalyst in this whole thing. But also, with all these statistics, there are very many Ugandans out there, and I want to zero down on this because we know that low income and middle income countries are the most affected countries, especially when it comes to mental health. You won't believe it, but there is a Ugandan right now who still doesn't understand what mental health is. They don't even know the significance of knowing if you're doing well mentally. So maybe, Felix, this is where you could come in. I would just really love to know, why do you think, in your opinion, it's just very, very imperative for an ordinary Ugandan, for an educated Ugandan, for an illiterate Ugandan to know that mental health is very key for their general health?
One of the things that mustn't be skipped if you discuss mental health is environment. And in as much as we are doing bad in terms of medical facilities, as Bob did put it, we must stay alive to the fact that probably the hospitalization and the health care is the last at the tail. But our fear to discuss the causations of mental health is our biggest worry, or should be our biggest worry.
Yes.
As medics say, psychiatrists, they call themselves, that everyone has a piece of madness. It just comes out in different, incidents, or it has different triggers.
Yes.
Now, trust me, mental health is relative. And for us, this is what we should appreciate. And no wonder countries like, one will ask themselves, why do you have Uganda? You don't have very many mad people on the road. The reason is that mental health is relative. I was privileged to be a scholar of that at my last year in law school. I did a research about mental health law and what. Now, the exposures you get are quite shocking. One is that there's a piece of madness probably in every human being.
I think in every human being.
It is just about
yes.
the stimuli, the things that stimulate that madness to come alive. And that should be a discussion for the country. The social welfare, the kind of social welfare every individual is exposed to, is the greatest stimuli to their level of madness or to the particular madness. There are many types. Most people in Uganda talk about the bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and just to mention. But there's also disorders. They are what we call their disorders. They are that may manifest in anger. Some of them manifest in mood swings. Some of them manifest in silence. All these are triggered by different things. But the reason why Uganda has such cases is not, by the way, scientific. It is entirely anchored in the kind of livelihood Ugandans live. And I want to give you an example. Even if you're born normal without any sort of madness, you have a father in this country who probably, and it stretches way back. What kind of family setups do we have? What do people hear consistently? This is all to do with the mind. Because the brain is like the ultimate engine of a human body. What you feed it on, what, like some of you who drive, what kind of, that's why per particular, what kind of oil you use, what kind of fuel you use, they keep on saying, this will ruin your engine, this will ease your engine to be fast. You know, even now you see gas institutions or companies have come up with, for example, Shell has a V-Power, it has its own things. This Total will tell you this. The brain being the engine of a human being, what we consume in terms of sight and hearing determines so much the mental health. As we celebrate such days, people normally focus on the sick people.
Yes.
And the institutions, which is not wrong. Like Robert did give you a picture of the facilities, the availability of medical officers. But we need to have the nerve to talk about the causations. Why do we have people flooding the Butavikas of this world?
Yes.
Why? Why? You're having the most crucial part of the contributors, by the way, to mental health, in my own opinion, are families. I want to talk about societies, but let me cut out families before we go to the societies. Let's look at families. What is the role of, what's the role of families in terms of probably reducing mental health challenges in the country? Does a family have a part to play? If so, have they done their part? If you want to come down and cut out singularly things like who, let's look at the fathers, let's look at the mothers. Do any of these people have, and we should address these things, because if we don't concentrate from the start, for example, we have seen these things, the rage you see on social media.
Yes.
This is a sign of emotional intelligence, which is also clustered under mental illnesses. That at the first opinion I get to talk to Kirabo, if he did something bad, would be violence. These people you see who come out to announce dead people who are alive, that's a level of madness. But it starts somewhere. It starts somewhere. Look at the style of leadership in this country. You people fear to talk about the truth of the matter. The style of politics in this country. The priorities that politicians have over other things. Today, if you're going to prioritize political lifestyle of individuals vis-a-vis education of students, these are some of the things that trigger people's minds.
Yes.
If a parent can't take 5 children to school, you know, the parent is jobless. Some people go hungry. How do you avoid mental illness of this father? He wakes up to look at the girls there. They are growing big buttocks, big breasts, big butt. The boys are growing beards. The guy is there, is useless. The mother is... All these things are triggers. Now, that loss of self-esteem, what it produces can be mental illnesses.
Actually, Felix, just rejoinder to that, police, many times people have committed
suicide,
leave alone suicide, crimes that I want to call extreme or funny crimes, whereby someone, for example, a father sleeps with a daughter, a man rapes a young child, and when they are taken to test their mental status, it turns out positive that they did this when they are sick.
And some of those things are stress-induced.
Yes, that they know this person was mentally sick and it is evident. You have to take him to a hospital, then proceeding with the trial. But when you look at the character, the lifestyle of these people, you see that really they are living pathetic lives, some of them. Some are abandoned farmers, they're only fathers. The wife saw the father more next to useless and decided to take the children, and then now the wife moved to another man. You know, they're having life. This man remained in a very funny life. So he commits that offense. People beat, but after finding out the man is mentally sick.
But also maybe just to ask, can we actually say that some of these, the causes are self-induced, or maybe we cannot do away with them?
it depends what you call self-induced. I wouldn't categorize that in self-inducement. I would rather categorize it with a style of leadership. You see, you may neglect that, or it may seem far-fetched, but definitely it is directly linked with how people's lives will turn out.
Yes.
You know, it is definitely about style of leadership or politics that you determine whether or not children will access education, people will have employment. What is the economy looking like? All these things. Let me give you another example. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of such people. One, you come from whatever. Let's say Kirabo is not from, but anyone comes from a village somewhere deep. You have sold maybe property to come to Kampala because you've heard town is the source of what? You come, you sell some of your things, you get a spot somewhere in Kampala to work. One day, maybe, whatever, KCCA comes.
Yes.
They take your things for whatever reasons. Whether right or wrong, they take all your things. Now, in the percent, okay, let's look at the border guys, normally the ones who suffer. They take your border. Now, probably you have no money, you go to police, they ask you for 500 bribe. If you fail, like, why I'm bringing it to the fashion of leadership and style of leadership or politicking is that people like that lose hope. Now, people who are hopeless cease to care because they don't look up to anything. And that's one of the biggest inducements in third world countries. The level of hopelessness in people. They don't know what's for tomorrow. The level of corruption in this country, by the way, was one of the contributors to mental illnesses.
Yes.
And without fear of contradiction, I'll say it. And majorly in government institutions. That's a matter of fact. That someone who ought to get something, go to hospitals. A mother will die because they don't have 20. How does that leave the relatives? The husband, for example, the would-be father. These cases you see every day.
Oh, yes. And probably
but because they didn't have 20,
family. Yes.
How's that? Now, the man is there. The woman has died probably with a kid in the stomach. How does that man stay normal? These are the numbers you're counting. So you see, out of the 70, 80% talking about or whatever, only probably 2% of that are born with mental challenges. The rest are directly inducements by society and bad leadership styles or probably country modus operandi in how things are run. You understand? So some of these things, some of people are not mad. Now, when you see a man committing suicide or attempting suicide, or these people you see fighting, violence is one of the indicators of mental illness. People who have mental challenges sometimes or most times become violent because they react a particular way to different situations. Now, that's why you see, Kampala, when you have riots, people you say are, I have heard many politicians say, those people are idle. Idleness is one of the inducements of mental health. And no wonder the Bible also adds the same, that an idle mind
is a devil.
Will definitely be a devil's workshop. Now, that they call the devil, if you come to science, is going to be mental challenge. So, today as we celebrate such days, in my opinion, it is not a matter of just discussing the doctors, the psychiatrists. These politicians need to be true to themselves.
Yes.
The so-called ministers who will be attending these functions, the commissioners, the whatever MPs, they should be true to themselves. Countries like the USA have mental challenges. The countries in Europe, they do have these challenges. But some of them are limited by the availability of common goods to every person. As long as Ugandans have the common goods available to them, trust me, these cases will go down. But if I'm going to wake up and look at my children starving, I can't take them to school, you know, every other thing is nasty around you.
Yes.
The only option is probably to go crazy.
Anyway, according to statistics that came out from the Ministry of Health, they showed that about 14 million Ugandans are suspected to be dealing with mental health issues. And these are statistics that were collected back in 2019. And now when we interpret that, that means like...
That actually was before COVID.
Yes, the 35 out of 100 people that you meet in your day-to-day life, they're battling with some mental issues. Some of them, of course, may be open about them, others may not.
So,
and clearly, that
just
is
just a quick one.
Yes.
Out of 3 people, how many people have mental illnesses? Probably out of the 3 of us, 1 of us has a mental.
Probably all of us, because I'm pretty sure we're all battling with some things here and there. But like you did say, mental health is relative. Okay.
Anyway, it manifests.
Yes, it manifests
ways,
in different ways, and of course, we all deal with things differently. Now, looking at all these statistics, which I really highly suspect that they have doubled or probably tripled from 2019, because we're in 2022, and it's like the farther we go, the more problematic society becomes, and all these issues that trigger mental health. Now, in your opinion, Robert, what do you think we can do at a national level, but also at an individual level? Because definitely there are certain strategies that have to be laid by government to help, but also as individuals, there are certain things we can do here and there. So what do we do to make sure that we curb the numbers? Because right now, I can't give you the current statistics, but at least I know for sure they're really crazy out there.
Well, I'll begin with what Felix said, and I'll begin with government, the livelihood of people. You see, mental health, or what now we are looking at as persons whose mental status has had issues. There are those that it could go to the extreme in the beginning, and what people call they are mad, those you find on the streets, that they have gone to that extreme. They are beating, they are violent, or they are undressed, or they are doing something that physically someone can know that, yes, this is the climax. But then it has a journey. That they will tell you, one started, you know. So, one, if most of these cases, because I want to tell you, now we have about 3 major cases of mental problems. One, Felix clearly articulated things when he talked about the welfare of people.
Yes.
The welfare being a cause. That a person will first go into stress, then depression. Depression, the people are so depressed. You look at them, you see their face, you see the hunger I talked about, then they reach the last bit of it to find one undressing, moving, doing funny things, and that is when we say he needs mental attention, or she rush them to hospital. But how do we curb the beginning part of it? That certain things that Felix has talked about, they are available, or they are easy to access, all available to all. How do we reduce the injustice? I want to tell you, Philo, there are many people who've lost their land in unfair ways. A person wakes up, Gabamusenze. This is people, how do you expect them to manage all this? Those injustices, corruption, looking at common good for the people of Uganda. 2, government, health facilities. How many hospitals can you go to and there is all health facilities and there is this knowledgeable person who can sense that before this person goes to the extreme,
Yes.
I think this person needs a counselor. Because Ugandans, unlike the Western world, where people can say, go to a counselor, he talks with you, tells you what you're going through, this is what is happening, please handle this. We don't have those in our health facilities. There are very few. That they will find that a person will have a problem. That is why now you people go to religious leaders. They go sometimes to pastors and Sabila this, and sometimes they land in wrong hands. Someone is stressed. You are saying Uganda is a religious country, but people are running there because they are stressed, and their only solace now is in religious leaders. Katusabeko, eyandi gudde dawlo ero naligwe emyaka esatu maaso. You know, because they cancel, they pray for them, God is in control. That person feels better. But local churches are growing because you have counseling sessions. Come and speak to your pastor. Those guys have done a great job. We don't know where I would be. Those some also end up doing nonsensical things and fleecing people. So we should have this in our health facilities. Then to the communities and public, I think it is time we have the humanness in us. Over the weekend, I witnessed an accident. This guy, I think there's this thing they used to clean the road. He wanted to dodge it, they knocked people on a border. But one thing I saw is in just 5 minutes, they were robbed of everything, including their cell phones. So how would we help someone? Because you would say, he has got an accident, let's take their phone and call someone they know.
Yes.
Handbag, phones, everything was robbed of them. Let's be human. Let's not stigmatize people. Let's go back and have the humanness in us. Let's know how to approach these people. If I see that maybe Felix, the Felix I've been with for years, these days acts funny, he loses temper, Felix could have a problem. Let's not stigmatize. Let's find ways of addressing, of approaching this. Let's be kind to one another. The people who are sleeping angry with nothing in this country, the people who are throwing to the dustbin. An act of kindness, you never know what it's going to do at an individual basis.
Well, mental health is not a destination, all right? It's just the process. It's not all about where you're going. It's how you're driving. And you shouldn't use mental health to judge people. You can only offer a helping hand. And let's keep away from stigmatizing the people who have been victims of bad mental health. And again, as an individual, you can actually try as much to make sure that you're not part of the problem. You're not a trigger to bad mental health, especially to your colleagues, to your neighbors, to your family members, to anybody and everybody around you. I believe that that is how we can start by, trying to make sure that we cut down the numbers, especially here in Uganda. Remember that if your mental health is not in check, it affects very many aspects of your life, how you handle stress, how you deal with situations, how you react, how you talk, and how you live generally. Make sure that you keep that message at the back of your mind as we navigate through this day and through this week, and of course through the rest of this year and for the rest of your life. We're going in for the press review to see the big stories, Daily Monitor, Daily Nation, and the New Vision. Good morning, Uganda.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. 1 is for construction of my house, 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, in the press review this morning, looking at the Daily Monitor first, the big story, Museveni stings West at independence fete. Of course, talking about self-rule, the president, while casting himself as a nationalist and pan-Africanist at the Diamond Jubilee celebrations, says he will go ahead with the Vinci Coffee deal, which was terminated by Parliament in May, and he dared those who opposed to it. And looking at the big picture there, President Museveni inspecting the parade as the country marked the 60th independence anniversary in Kololo, Kampala yesterday, and giving you some of the highlights where Kenya's Ruto was rallying for borderless region and Rwanda pledges to support the EAC unity, Somalia thanking Uganda for terrorism fight, and Salva Kiir calling for end to poverty ignorance. Now, ministry stops UVRI from testing, and UNEB issues roadmap for UCE exams. And onto the second page of the Daily Monitor, looking at today in history, Duke of Kent opens first Parliament. The year was 1962. And also in history, U.S. Navy fighters intercept hijackers. The year was 1985. Question is, where were you by then? And looking at the New Vision, Mollen.
Yes, the New Vision leads off with a story on oil pipeline. Museveni invites more partners, and the president says the future is in value addition. That is detailed on page 3, but also they give you a picture right there. A lead ESC agenda, Ruto asks Museveni. They give you a picture of President Museveni with the Kenyan President William Ruto right there. That is during the Uganda's 60th Independence Day celebration yesterday at Kololo ceremonial grounds. And of course, in the opinion, General Muhoozi was misunderstood. That is also on page 22. Teachers load Huawei Vision's new papers in education program. That is on page 54. And also in the interview, First Lady hails Makerere. That is on page 2 of the New Vision. Now, also they give you a story of 700 families face eviction in Chitagwenda district. Sorry, that is at on page 54 as well. Now, crossing over to the second page, use experience to spur national transformation. Of course, still looking at Makerere University. That was during the celebrations of the 100-year anniversary, and they give you more details on that story, and of course the message from the First Lady right there.
The Daily Monitor sports the Nam Blazers, Lady Cannons force finals Game 7. Now, this will be the decisive Game 7 for both finals, and well, I can tell you that the pressure is crazy. Yesterday, if you did attend what was happening between the Nam Blazers and City Oilers at Lugogo, I must say that the fires were really up there. Congo job for Vipers, and we're talking about the CAF Champions League. The second round, first leg results showing the Vipers nil and TP Mazembe nil. And when it comes to Kongolo Mao KCCA Reds fly, and sports sees past Ndeje. Now, Formula 1 Verstappen seals the second title, now being, of course, the Red Bull driver. Max Verstappen won the Japanese Grand Prix, and he sealed the second championship. Well, that and many, many more stories in the Daily Monitor Sports this morning.
And looking at the New Vision Sport, Vipers goal shy. Well, Vipers have a mountain to climb after failing to beat DRC's Giants TP Mazembe in the CAF Championship League, of course, in the second round, as they had a goalless draw at St. Mary's Stadium, Chitende, yesterday. Now, it looks like the Venoms have a lot to make up for, but also in the New Vision Sport, Babidi kisses it. Well, they give you Martha Babidi right there. That is after she topped it all, winning the 72nd edition of the Tusker Multi-Uganda Ladies Open that ended at Lake Victoria Serena Golf Resort. That was yesterday. Well, she really made it all, having an overall 233 gross over the 54 holes to win that tournament? Well, it looks like it is a lot of celebrations for her right there. But also inside the New Vision Sport, leading sports investors, they're giving you more about throwing all the coins in the sport, asking governments on how it can invest in sports, looking at the 60 years since independence. And some of the individuals that have performed really well in sports, they give you right there as you cross over into the pages of the sports section.
Switching to the Daily Nation, Azimio to Ruto, walk the talk. Very short but heavy statement. And Kenyans seeking a reprieve from high cost of living, of course, in terms of the economy. And while on the campaign trail, Ruto envisioned a smooth implementation of his pledges, but taking the reins of power on September 13th ushered him into a hard reality. Drought, rising food and fuel prices, mounting debt and insecurity. Now, his rivals want him to quickly address these issues. The question, though, is what magic will he work? We are watching. MP's law firm slaps a Kirabo family with 600 million Kenyan shillings legal fees bill. The firm demands a 660,391,392 Kenyan shillings from the estate. Death threats, corrupt tender deals, and a woman's elusive search for justice. Another story you could catch up in the Daily Nation. So close. Ruth 14 seconds shy of world record as Kenyans roll the course of Chicago Marathon. That and many more stories in the Daily Nation this morning, but also crossing over to the traffic situation. Areas coming in, of course, are from Boyogere, crossing over to Kampala and the surrounding areas is where I want to specifically draw my focus. Looking at Boyogere as you're coming in from Chobe Road, this very specific spot really does have a very heavy traffic situation. I could say that it's a bit chaotic over there. I do see the traffic that is building up on several parts of this road, and it stretches all the way as you're trying to make your way to town. And moving around Chireka Road, of course, trying to use it as a shortcut is not also any different. There is traffic building up on several spots on that very specific road, trying to connect all the way to Chireka, of course, from Boyogere. Now the traffic stretches all the way as shown by these orange stretches over here, and we do have already some spots that are covered in the traffic, especially this part here, so it may not be an easy road for you. If you choose to use the bypass, still you'll be catching traffic on a few spots here and there. We do have one here, we do have one here, and for the rest of the road we do have the traffic already building up. And still continuing on the Chireka Road, the traffic becomes heavier as you go further. Clearly it's a Monday, so we do expect roads to be quite very busy, especially this one that has held a record of being quite busy from Monday to another Monday. And continuing via Kampala Jinja Highway to Banda, here we do have traffic that is already heavy via the taxi stage, but we also have cars and other motorists trying to connect to the main road using the Chambogo route, clearly explaining why we are witnessing this traffic over here. And again, the traffic continues all the way as you're trying to make it to Nakawa. We do have the traffic building up here, and this, by the way, is for both people trying to get into the city center and others trying to leave, headed towards back Banda and all those areas. So yes, do expect that heavy traffic over there. Now getting, of course, to Nakawa, well, the traffic here is very heavy and it's going to be costing you something, because we do have cars coming in from Tinda. We have cars trying to connect all the way from Chinawataka Road, and we do have already this place that has already been immersed in that heavy traffic, so you need to plan accordingly. Continuing all the way, of course, through Lugogo, the traffic spots here, we do have traffic building up, and this is the same case as you're headed towards, of course, Kampala City. Looking at Kampala Jinja Highway, really you're not going to be surviving it this morning. Well, continuing all the way to Ministry of Internal Affairs, well, there is traffic already here, and it's actually very intense, I must say that. Well, We do also have cars that are joining in from Wampel Avenue, causing this traffic build-up over here. We do have cars coming in from Port Bell, also causing the traffic build-up over here. And we do also have cars that are coming in from Access Road. Access Road, of course, connects cars coming in from parts of Makindye Division, and clearly explaining the traffic in this very specific spot. And continuing all the way towards Kampala Road, you should be expecting a traffic in different spots. We do have traffic over here, we do have traffic here, especially for the cars that are coming in from these other areas getting to the city center. For those of you who are leaving the city center and headed back towards these areas, you'll be facing some challenges here and there. Well, the traffic continues all the way to Kampala Road. So this morning is a very, very busy one on the road, and please drive carefully. Be very, very well aware of what is happening around you, the motorists, the children, everybody else, the pedestrians. We don't want to have cases this morning. And that's it from the traffic updates. We do have quite a lot more coming in from weather and climate, and obviously Mollen will be telling us more about that. But it was quite, I should say, a cold weekend, because I did, where I stay at least, I did witness some rains on Saturday for the biggest part of the day. I don't know, I mean, is this what we'll be expecting for the next couple of days, Mollen?
Well, it looks like that could be the situation. I mean, we did see those rains even coming to interrupt our Independence Day.
Yes.
But I guess I think I pushed that to the traditional belief of saying that it was good luck.
Oh, yes, it was.
Otherwise, we could be looking at more rain still coming in. The rainy season is still on, so obviously those rains will be coming through. And until we get into December, that's when we can talk about a reduction. But for now, it looks like you're still going to be expecting those rains into your day, Philomena.
Well, just carry a sweater, be ready, because you cannot come up with an excuse. You don't have to get late to work because of rain. Well, I hope that you can find a way of navigating through. I am Philomena Mastiko. I want to wish you a very wonderful Monday morning and a productive week ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Philomena. And of course, you can count on the fact that we will be giving you daily updates on the weather situation so that you do not have to, look for ways of figuring out whether it will rain or not. Now, that will be coming in later on, but first we look at what is happening across the world in terms of climate extremes and, of course, some of the weather, extreme weather events that we're seeing across the world that have been linked to climate change. Well, coming in from China, they are experiencing one of the worst dry seasons in 50 years. We're looking at a situation where they actually have two kinds of weather, across China. The south is looking at more of dry conditions, but then again there is more coming in when it comes to a heat wave. Now, several drought-stricken areas are facing heat warnings, and of course alerts that have been issued. Over 10 alerts have been issued across most areas, looking at the cities and counties, especially in Jiangxi province, warning that crops could suffer from the worst drought conditions in 50 years. That is for that southern part, the northern part of China. And of course, furthermore, they're also looking at provinces like the Gansu province that has reached 40.9 degrees Celsius. That is a lot of heat. Talking about what 40 could look like, imagine doubling temperatures that we usually experience here in Kampala, especially on a warm day. You look at, some kind of like a 26 here, that is kind of uncomfortable. Now you're doubling that. That is what is happening in the northern part of China. And of course, as of today, they're also looking at a national heat record for October. And of course, at a time when temperatures are typically averaging to about 68 Fahrenheit. And of course, that translates into about 20 degrees Celsius. But also that is according to the weather service coming in also from Ogmet. Now, the southern province, on the other hand, is also setting a new record for heat in October. They could be looking at a truly abnormal situation, because now nobody has experienced this kind of record-breaking temperatures in October. That is according to a climate scientist in China, that is at Fujian Normal University. Of course, also analyzing the situation, what is causing most of these weather transitions. And of course, they are looking at a situation where these are becoming more complicated to estimate what is happening in the atmosphere. And also looking at what is disrupting the rising global temperatures amid the climate crisis, They are, of course, blaming it on the fact that we have had a big struggle with climate change, and of course this is what is bringing most of these cities to break their records. Now you look at also most of the weather extremes that have come up across China, ranging from the heat strokes, of course, to raising temperatures, and that has created a little bit of unstable climate when it comes to what China has been experiencing for at least for this decade. And it's no wonder that we're even looking at record-breaking temperatures, and especially now that they have analyzed the situation to, you know, this October could be the warmest in 50 years. And of course, we can only pray that much more of that is not what we're going to experience as the world in general when it comes to climate extremes. Now, looking at more of the weather extremes coming in across the world, we're looking at the Venezuela floods. Of course, those are also have been causing a great deal of havoc for the entire weekend, and so far what we do know is that the death toll has risen to 22. That is according to the authorities in Venezuela, and of course looking at over 100 homes that were destroyed by these floods. Well, it looks like this was triggered by heavy rains that of course were across most of the regions, looking at mostly heavy storms that were involved with thunderstorms, and of course they're looking at 22 people dead and 52 missing after 5 small rivers also burst their banks, and of course that was due to the heavy rains over there. Now, the downpour started, that was Saturday night, sweeping across the area, and of course that was mostly the southwest part of Caracas, damaging businesses and farmland. Of course, that was also a voice that was given out by the vice president, that is Rodriguez, on Saturday and Sunday, saying that this could be one of the worst case scenarios that they have looked at. And of course, they're saying that this month is having more of the worst rains falling across the southwestern part of Venezuela, and they could be looking at this damaging the drinking water system as well. Now, rescue operations are still ongoing. They are also beefed up by the military and rescue personnel across the country, looking at how they can actually, you know, bring down the situation and try to look for more of the people, you know, across the area, especially now that they still have missing numbers. And of course, if there could be any survivors, especially with looking at even more of the rivers that are still being affected by this rainy system that could be bursting their banks. Now, they have carried out more operations across the southwest, especially near the town of course, Caracas and Tejaria, which looks like that is where we could be having more of these tragedies as the rainy system continues. Now, President Nicolas Maduro also said in a tweet that he has designated an area for disaster zone, and of course declared 3 days of mourning for those that were lost within these floods. And of course, mostly the streets of Tejaria, a town of about 73,000 people, is where we're having more of these damages. And of course, this region was also filled with mud, and of course a lot of tree branches, a lot that were coming in downhill due to these heavy rains. And at least rescue operations are still ongoing, and we are yet to ascertain what they could be looking at. But of course, the weather scientists and of course the climate scientists also from the area do attribute most of these extreme weather events to the climate change crisis that is happening across the world, because most of these events are coming in huge, more frequent, more intense than they have looked at in the times before. And of course, this is also to say about the disaster preparedness across most areas. Now it looks like every country is, you know, beefing up its disaster preparedness action, and of course laying more strategies, as we do expect most of these extreme weather events to be happening across the world. Now, today we're talking about Venezuela, but just last week we were looking at Hurricane Ian also taking huge numbers of property, and of course a lot of people that died from those events. We keep looking at most of these extremes. We're talking about the heat wave across China, and of course more of these that are coming across, especially as we look at what could be done in terms of climate action. Now, the road to COP27 Egypt is almost due, and we're looking at whether there is a strategy to avert this crisis, and of course more of that is towards the fact that there is no way to adapt to a situation like this. When people are dying, what is there to adapt to? It cannot be death. So there has to be an action that is done, especially when it comes to counteracting what human activities have been doing in terms of bringing extreme weather events. But also more rains have been seen across Australia, that is across the eastern part, that also triggered floods. Now this is just another situation looking at the rainy system that has been across Sydney. Now heavy rains eased across Australia's east on Monday, that is earlier tonight actually, posing a little bit of flooding across the city, and of course residents are worried about another intense weather system that could hit several island regions, bringing in more downpours and triggering fresh flooding that could be looked at. Now this is mostly the northern Victoria state, that is across also the South Wales, and of course the North Tasmania region, that is of Australia. They could be looking at more rains even as the day progresses, because more of these systems are actually persistent. And according to the Australia Met Agency, that is the Bureau of Meteorology, they're saying that most of these rains could go up to Wednesday. So at least the alerts have been issued, because they do expect these rains to come in heavy, more intense, and likely to bring across flooding. Now the worst hit areas, according to the National Services in Weather, they're looking at areas across the southeast that could be affected, and of course more than 100 flood warnings that have been issued. That is looking at almost a countrywide kind of warning. Now what happens is that during such a time, they're looking for more of the authorities to be on ground, at least get ahead of the situation. The rains are expected, the flooding could be there, but at least the alerts are coming in. Looking at more than 100 of those, it means that at least it could trigger some strategic action to make sure that we don't lose more people, especially in terms of these extreme weather events. Now also those warnings have included evacuation warnings that the state of Australia has also put across, and of course alerting people that are also coming into the region, especially Sydney and of course the northwestern suburbs of Winthrop and North Richmond, that is across Australia. They could be looking at much more of those extreme weather events, and apparently this will go up to Wednesday. We could be looking at more of another extreme weather event. And also they are actually attributing most of these due to the La Nina event that has been happening, resulting into frequent floods since early 2021. That is for Australia, and they're looking at the Weather Bureau also predicting that this phenomena is likely to occur in a rare third straight year. They have been having most of these events happening, and the intensity right now is what is worrying. The frequency is what is worrying, and of course that has also been related to the climate change. And of course looking at Australia having nearly 26 million people, it means that this could be a heavy kind of alert to make sure that the population is alert and be sure to respond to most of these flooding events and extreme weather events in terms of heavy rainfall. Now, talking about rainfall, we also want to look at what is happening across the country, and of course we'll be tapping in from our satellite, see what is going on across Uganda. And looks like we started off with quite a rainy system that is across the northwestern part of the country, towards areas of Arua, towards areas of Yumbe. We're starting off with quite a cloudy day, but as we speak, we do have some of the rains coming in, especially to the southern parts of northwestern Uganda, and that is where we have those orange colors and a little bit of blue colors right there. That is indicative of the rainy system that is over there, and it looks like that is also coming in towards midwestern part of the country, bringing in a little bit of rains already as we speak towards areas of Masindi. That is headed for Hoima. We could be looking at much more of those rains also coming in for your morning. We're also looking at mostly the Renzori area, Fort Portal, parts of Fort Portal also having a little bit of those rains, but looks like those are really in smaller quantities and not much to really bring in much more interruptions. But also that system is likely to dissipate or clear up as the morning progresses. We're looking at more clouds that are starting to develop across the southwestern part of the country, across Kabale Highlands, but that will be mostly in terms of cloudy conditions. Otherwise, the rest of the country is starting off with quiet intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Now, looking at the weather forecast that we have for this morning, that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, we're looking at more numbers, especially with cold weather across the country, especially the southern sector, and also the forecast does indicate that we might continue with those rainy conditions, especially for midwestern Uganda, the northwestern. We're also looking at southwestern Uganda having a little bit of those rains. In the forecast, would also be looking at more sunny weather that is across the northeastern part of the country, across the Karamoja region and eastern Uganda, but also for Kampala, we're having mostly cloudy weather. We're likely to have those rains for this morning across several places. Same conditions are forecast for much of central. Well, that is it in terms of weather for this morning. Later than this, we'll be having Good Morning Uganda agenda and also having sports highlights right after that. Later than that, we'll also be going in for Good Morning.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard that's super easy.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Don't refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have two projects. One is for construction of my house. Two is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Silver is a valuable metal. Is this expression about babies eating metal? Let's find out.
Jonathan, last night at Kim's party, everyone talked about how they went to the best schools and how they're making tons of money.
Well, they must have worked hard to get to that point, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. They were just born with silver spoons in their mouths.
Yeah, I know the type. They can be a little annoying.
Someone who is born with a silver spoon in their mouth is born into a family of wealth and privilege. We use this expression in a negative way to describe someone who is successful only because of their family's money and connections. And that's English in a Minute.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Lovely morning. Thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. I'm Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. In case you've just joined, this is your morning show, Good Morning Uganda, and we're here from the hour of 6:30, so kindly make it a date with us. Every weekday, 6:30, we kickstart our broadcast to spice up your morning with relevant information, but also a few light moments. I'm Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono, and this is Good Morning Uganda Agenda, where we look at issues of national concern with our guest. But in this segment, you're also able to give us your feedback by simply going to our various social media platforms, among which we have our WhatsApp number, the same number. You can also send an SMS, and we get your feedback. We'll treasure your feedback, and it helps us to improve the livelihood of Ugandans, because the guest responds or picks these concerns that I may not have mentioned here and there. Now, this morning, we are going to be looking at issues of the passport. We know that travel document that anybody living in Uganda is required to have. Now, we all remember when we phased out what some would call analog, the old passports. We had a deadline to hit as a country. We had an extension, but later we had to have the East African passport. This has unique features, but now what happened is, for some reasons we are yet to know today, because we've had a number of reasons, these passports are not easily accessed by a number of Ugandans. Many will tell you we are waiting longer than what we used to wait. Others will tell you they have had a number of challenges. So joining me on set this morning is the spokesperson of the Ministry for Internal Affairs, Simon Mondei. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Robert, for having me this morning. And good morning, viewers.
Now, Simon, we shall just go straight. Let's take the bull by the horn. When we talk about passports, we know some may want express, others may want the ordinary passport, of getting it, go through the ordinary channel. But what is happening is we are receiving a number of complaints where people are asking what went wrong, what isn't being done, why is the problem? Things don't seem to be as usual ever since we said now we've phased out the old passports. We are now beginning with the East African passport.
Thank you, Robert. 2018, towards the end there, we started changing passports from the old type. We used to call them machine-readable passports to what we refer to as electronic passports. At that time, first of all, the public was not very, very sensitized about the changes. So we had very few people who were turning up. We put up, first of all, the deadline of that time was December 2018. It passed, people had not yet responded, so we extended again, then we extended the third time because of COVID-19, as you know. So when we extended to the last one, being 4th April 2022, when we totally phased out the old passports, one, we had two things. One, the population, of course, went into panic mode. First of all, you could not move out of Entebbe using the old passport. So everybody wanted to have a passport. Then before that, shortly, there was COVID. You remember, the country went into lockdown. So when we went into lockdown, we were not working, nobody was working, but everybody was home. But our system of applying for passports online remained open for applications to come in. So everybody applied for a passport. Most people who wanted to apply for passport put in applications, and remember, people had a lot of time. People were at home, there was nothing to do, so everybody went online and applied for a passport. So by the time we opened the economy, and then we resumed the work at Internal Affairs to do enrollment, we had a lot of applicants in the system, totaling to about over 30,000. So when we started, that's the time we experienced long queues at the ministry. You would see people lining up, everybody wanted to travel, everybody wanted to travel for medication, people wanted to go and give birth out there, people wanted to go and do business, others wanted to go for tourism. So everybody wanted to come. So first of all, that was the problem that we were faced. And remember, capacity remained the same, but the numbers increased. Then secondly, remember, we were also migrating. So that was a change from the old passport to the new passport. So because we were changing, people are not sensitized, people are not very aware of what we are going to do. So everybody thought that with the new passport, with the old passport, even before the deadline, you wouldn't be able to travel. So everybody poured there. So we had some bit of backlog. So this backlog affected us. Then when we started working on the backlog and we were about to finish, then we also had Ukraine-Russia war. And remember, some of these materials that make these passports come from that part of the world. So, yes, yes, things to do with oil.
No, we need clarity. Because yes, I can see the relationship between being in COVID, people are home, people are applying for passports. And there are so many applications coming in.
Yes.
I can see the fact that you're migrating from the old system, so there could be technological delays, maybe fixing in new equipment, adjusting to how to use new technology. But Russia, Ukraine, whoa.
Yeah, you see, when we mention Russia, Ukraine, everybody will start laughing and starting to make fun of us. But it is true. The company that gives us these passports have some of their ingredients of making passport covers from Ukraine, from Russia. Actually, they make these are ingredients for making passport covers. Basically, passport covers. And you can't give a passport without covers, of course. So, whenever we mention these, people laugh. But
yeah, it sounds laughable.
Well, our suppliers did come to us and explain to us that we have a challenge with these materials. Some of these materials are oil-based, and they come from Russia. And of course, when we had this logistical problem of supplies from that place, it had to affect. So, this company, instead of giving us the required number of passports, reduced, gave us few. So because we had few passports, we also had to reduce on the number we were issuing to the public. So we used to give passports. After COVID there, we used to give about 2,000 to 3,000 passports daily. So because of that, we were able to clear the backlog. But then now, because of this shortage with our company, we said let's reduce to 1,500. So we reduced the passports to, we issue between 1,000 to 1,500, meaning that we have a shortage of 500 books. These are the people you see complaining. This, by the way, also affected the express applicants. Because you know, we have recently these our friends in the labor export market, the companies. First of all, they have so many girls. Two, the price for express passport is not all that scarce, it's not high. We charge only 150,000. And because of this, everybody wants to put in express. So we found that most of these labor export companies had actually applied for express passports. So we had, at one moment, more express passports than the standard. So we started grappling with this, struggling to issue. First of all, there was Express. Then secondly, people going for treatment. There are people going for studies. There are people going for jobs. There are people going for businesses. So this increased the demand for passport, and yet the materials, the books we are getting from our vendors were in short supply. So this led to these delays we are seeing. So we have been delaying 2-3 months, sometimes 4 months, for which we are really sorry.
Yes. Well, I just want to inform our viewers that you can be part of the topic of discussion where we are looking at the issue regarding passports, issuance of passports in Uganda. And I have the spokesperson of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which is exactly in charge of you having this book, this travel document, Simon Amundeyi, with whom we are discussing this. But that's the number on your screen. Feel free to send us a text message. Feel free to send us a WhatsApp message on that number, 0709 60 25 92. The number is 0709 60 25 92. Please send us your WhatsApp message, send us a text message. I'll be reading out all the messages and he will be giving you a reply, an official reply from the spokesperson directly concerned with this issue. So much has been going around, so we're like, let's have the right information. Now, the war in Ukraine is not yet about to end. That is one thing for sure. We don't know when, but every time it's now taken some good time. And instead of issuing 2,000, if you're issuing 1,500, the balance of 500 is quite a bigger number. You've also mentioned of Express. So are you still issuing Express, or now this has been halted?
We don't refuse people to apply for Express, although it has become now a challenge to us because of the, you know, I think we are the cheapest in the region in as far as Express passports is concerned. When you go to our neighbors in Tanzania, for you to be able to get an Express passport, you part with not less than $1 million shillings. So when you go to Kenya, it is, I think, about $60. So for us, ours is just a laughable 150,000. So everybody would want to put in. But we don't want to refuse the public from putting in Express. The good news we have from our suppliers is that these materials that were coming in from the Russia for making passport booklets, especially the covers, that they have found a way around it. And then because of that, now in about 3 to 4 weeks, we are going to be getting the books we need, in the supplies we need. So we are giving Ugandans only about 4 weeks, and then we shall resume our normal issuance of passports to 2,000. You know, sometimes we would give 3,000, sometimes we would give 2,500. You would see very many people coming to sign for these passports, which is a very good thing. So I think our suppliers have now gotten a way around the problem of Russia. So they have assured us within 3 to 4 weeks. Actually, just last week, they also supplied us with some books, by the way. So we do hope that after 4 weeks, 5 weeks there, things will resume normally. But I want to add that we do not have a crisis. The people who must get passports quickly are getting them. These are people who are going for treatment. You can't be going for treatment and you lack a passport. No. You cannot be going to study for scholarship and we don't give you a passport. No. You can't be going on government work and we don't have a passport to give you. All these are getting passports. And by the way, Express applicants now, as I talk, we have cleared up to almost towards the end of September. We have cleared. So we do hope by this week, next week to come, things will be much better. I want to assure Ugandans that each day that passes, that place becomes better and we are better off every day. Things go on improving, and what I can assure you is that after 4 to 5 weeks, we shall be issuing these passports very quickly. And this Ukraine, Russia, and COVID business did not only affect Uganda. You go to Kenya, they're also not giving passports on time. Go to Sweden. We have just recently returned from Canada. In Canada, for you to be able to get the passport, you will have to wait for 3 months. This one I benchmarked. I went to Passport Office Canada, asked even UK, even Sweden, even Denmark. These are countries that are ahead of us in terms of economy and what have you. But to get a passport there, you actually wait longer. So I only advise Ugandans out there who have journeys to plan for them. The problem we have is that you find somebody has a journey next week is Monday, comes to office on Friday, all panicking, all sweating, wanting to see whoever they find outside the ministry there. These are the people now who land on brokers, and brokers freeze them of their money. Plan your journey. If you have a journey next year, say April, why don't you come in now and apply for your passport and wait? Like they say, apply for your passport now or Sirike. We are going to give it without any pressures, without any third parties. The process is as simple as A, B, C, D. You don't have to involve any third party. All you have to do is go online, www.passports.go.ug, all in the comfort of your home, in the comfort of your bedroom, in your office, in the car, while you're going to work. You can apply for this passport anywhere, so long as you can access the internet. So I ask Ugandans to follow suit.
Well, the number of questions coming in regarding passports. The good thing is you said 4 to 5 months. This shortage will weeks. This is going to be addressed. So there is hope. We hope that hope leaves a test of time. Yeah. Well, looking at some of the messages. Hi, thanks for the program. I'm Lawrence from Makere. Just want to know how much a standard passport costs and how long it takes. Then another one. Why is it that they don't refund our money? If at all we make mistakes, then I don't understand that very well. Good morning, Uganda. This is Moses from Kawanda. We just need more light about how the war has affected the manufacture of a Ugandan passport. Because the war is in Ukraine, not in Russia. Please, we need more clarification. Good morning to you. I want to consult. If I have an old passport and I want to replace it with a new one, how much does it cost?
Okay.
And good morning, UBC. Internal Affairs is highly known for corruption. Please, let's have your name. Thank you, Robert, for the program. What about people needing to change to East African passport? What is the procedure? Well, Simon will be telling you more of that. Why don't we start manufacturing the passports here? That is also one that came in. Now let me also look at a few messages here. Good morning, Kirabo and UBC viewers. We thank the guest this morning. I am Azizi from Moyo District, Northern Uganda. I'm traveling to Kampala next week for a passport application. What do I need to come with or requirements to be able to get a passport? And if here in Katale, can I apply for a passport online? Okay, for now, let's go with those. We shall get back to more questions later.
Thank you, Robert. Somebody asked about how much a standard passport costs and how long does it take. A standard passport costs 250,000. You know, we have types of passports, but I presume this person, I think, is asking about the ordinary passport. Ordinary is 250,000. Only do not be duped by anybody and you add a coin, because this is the amount. Then express, why don't we refund money when we make mistakes? I think that you see, we are not the ones who collect money for passports. This money is collected by Uganda Revenue Authority. So normally, if you make a mistake and let's say you applied for a wrong type of passport and you are sure that we are not going to give you that passport, you have a right to claim your money. You right to commission domestic taxes, Uganda Revenue Authority, explaining the circumstances that I applied for this, I paid, I didn't get this service, so I want my money. They have been refunding that money. So all you have to do is write, inform them, then URA will come to passport office to establish if that service was not given. And once they are sure it wasn't given, then they will be able to refund that money. You have to provide your account details. How has the war affected the passports and the war?
It is in Ukraine, not in Russia.
Between me and you, you know that Russian products were sanctioned. They got some sanctions, so they were not able to export some of these oil-based products. So because of the sanctions, Russia was not able to export some of these materials. That is how the effect came. Although the war is not there, but the effects of the war was that it was sanctioned, and everybody knows this. That's how it was. Then, how do you replace the new passport? The passport is very easy. You go online. This process is very user-friendly, and we urge Ugandans to do it by themselves. Go to www.passports.ug.go.ug. Once you reach there, you'll find a very easy form on the system. Fill in your biodata details, name, put in the date of birth, who your father is, your mother, tribe, and all those details about yourself. And you know this. For as long as you have a national ID, we don't have any problem with you. Go pay and pay this money yourself in the bank. You can also pay using mobile money, Easy Pay, you can use MasterCard, you can use Visa card. We have made payment options available everywhere. So you can pay, you can actually sit in your house, apply for a passport, pay for it without moving out at all. That's how easy the whole thing is. Somebody talked about making passports here, manufacturing them here. We are in that process, by the way. If you have been to Entebbe, we broke the ground for the construction of the factory to make this passport. So the contract we have with our vendors is that in about a year or two, after the factory is up and running, we are going to have our passports printed and manufactured and made in Uganda. That one is being done. If you have been in Entebbe, there's Uganda Security Printing Company, USPC. They are the ones responsible for this, and they are going to do these passports here. So we do hope once we start producing our passports from here, we shall have less challenges. Then somebody is in Moyo district traveling to Kampala. I would say, why do you travel to Kampala to have a passport? We now have opened regional offices. We have offices in Mbale to handle Eastern region. We have passport offices in Mbarara for that part of the country. We have Gulu. This one actually could go to Gulu because Gulu there are even very few people. So we are opening one in Arua, one in Jinja. The only problem we have is that most of our citizens do not trust those offices there. But I can tell you that for you to apply for a passport, you don't have to come to Kampala. All you have to do is go to, if you stay in Moyo, go to Gulu. Apply there, you'll get appointment there, you'll get fingerprinted there, and even receive your passport from there. There's no need for you to
come to Kampala.
No, the same. I come from Bali. I had some of my relatives. They stay next to the passport office in Bali. The other week they were here lining up. So I said, no, we thought the passport of Mbale does not go out of the country. So that's why we thought we would come to headquarters. Then you'd see people boarding buses from Mbale, from Mbarara, to come to Kampala. In fact, because of this, they had caused a lot of jam at the Kampala office. But now, with sensitization, we have talked to them, and they seem to be understanding. Now, we don't have lines here. If you have visited the place, most of these people in those places are going there for passports.
So which areas, to be specific, do you have regional offices?
Barara, we have passport office. It does everything.
In Barara, yes.
We have one in Mbale.
Mbale.
We have one in Gulu.
Gulu.
We are going to start one in Arua.
So Arua is in the offing?
Yes, offing. Very soon, I think in about 2 months. And also Ginger.
Okay.
Yes.
So those will be 5. If the Arua and Ginger are running, then there will be 5 regional offices.
Exactly.
So it doesn't make sense for you to travel, yet that services you can get there, you can still get them. At that point. Well, still more questions coming in. Our viewers, I want to ensure that we leave no stone unturned for people. Now, okay, let me, quite a number here. Okay. Hello, good morning. I'm Yusuf Kaga. Do you charge money when picking a passport? Well, have that one. Do you charge money when picking a passport? Eric in Kurukuku, how much is an ordinary passport? I think that we've answered, Eric. Sannon from Nyamusera. Thanks for the program. If things normalize, how long does Express take? Then, good morning, UBC. I'm Pastor Titus from Fort Potro. I did my passport replacement interview on the 27th of May from Barara. I have not gotten any service yet. Okay. Good morning. I just want to know how long does Express passport take. I think that hello, I'm enjoying myself. Thanks for that good show. You're welcome. Good morning, I'm Lucky, viewing from Padel. May I get more highlights on the difference between the ordinary passport and how it works compared to other passport types available? Then why don't we start manufacturing? Good morning, Uganda. This is Edgar. We should stop corruption in that ministry for all Ugandans to have passports. Well, Simon, is there a bit of corruption there?
I will say something about
this. Some questions I'm going to miss. I applied for renewal of my passport, did my interviews, but it has taken me 6 months now. Kato Robert. This is good morning UBC, but Internal Affairs is highly known for so many allegations of corruption here. I don't know, my brother. Good morning, I'm Martin. How long does it take to get a passport? Because I applied on this. Well, now most of these are personal questions when they applied. And so good morning, I'm Martin. How long? So there are so many people I think who are facing delays. Hello, when are you opening more regional offices? For example, it is equally costly to travel from Lea to Gulu, Arua to Gulu. Well, and let me wind up with this. Hey, morning. My question is that I did my interview on passports on the 20, still it is the same issue of delays here. And let me just go to the messages from SMSs. I'll read a few there. Morning. Good morning. If I'm married to Kenyan officially and I want to be a citizen. Okay. How much is transition from old to new passport and how long does it take? Then Enoch from Kawan corruption. Okay, let's end with those. But I think there's something looking through the questions. One having an old passport that was phased out, getting a new passport. That is how much, what it costs. Then types of passport. I think there's a confusion when we talk about express and ordinary. Someone thinks that what is the difference? Do I go somewhere with ordinary that I can't go with express? So let's begin with those two then.
Thank you very much, Robert. Let's begin with this ordinary passport and other types.
Yes.
Now, I just want to emphasize the fact that express is just a service. It is not a type of passport. So when you say express passport and standard passport, this is just like you see this book. You are applying for this passport book, the same one, but you want a different handling. You want the express handling? Me, I want the standard way of handling. Express, of course, you pay more.
Because you want it very fast.
Very fast.
Yes.
But the passport type remains the same.
It's the same physical, everything is similar.
Everything is similar.
Yes, it's the
but
same book.
Just the service, how you want it. You want it quickly, you want it. It's like you go to hospital, you go to
private?
I think private hospital. And
Private wing.
Then the general wing. They will give you the same medicine, same medicine. Only that this one of private will be expedited. The process will be shorter and much faster than this one of general. But the medicine will be the same.
Because someone could get a journey and they want to travel in the next 2 days.
Exactly.
Yet for you have your journey in months and you're like, let me get a passport. So that's why there is reason for express.
Exactly.
Someone has to go for treatment outside Uganda.
The reason why we started this express service was we had people who had emergencies. And in our wisdom, we thought that only people with the emergencies would apply for these express passports. But we were wrong. Now everybody wants to put in express because we thought that people, you wake up in the morning, you have a quick journey to make, maybe a job, maybe something emergency, maybe sickness, maybe you want to go and study, and those are the type of people we thought would put in for express.
Now, this brings us to a quick one. Of course, it will be answered. It was among the questions. Now, how long does each of these passports take?
Currently, because of the difficulties we have, we are giving 4 weeks for express. 4 weeks.
That's a month.
A month
for you to get express, yes.
And then for non-express, the standard is 2 months. 2 months. Within that period, we shall have processed your passport. But we are working so hard. You may find that express will take 2 weeks, but we are giving you the maximum of
a month.
And your passport will be out. Now, there are other types of passports. Somebody wanted to know about other types of passports. We have what we refer to as service passport. This passport, I didn't come with these passports here, but I think you have them in your system. These passports are green, service passport. They are held by a certain class of Ugandans, like members of parliament, like vice chairpersons of permanent commissions, like you say, electoral commission, amnesty commission, and stuff like that. Then we have heads of government institutions like commissioners. They hold those service passports. They are green in color, and they even cost higher, 400,000. Then we do have a red passport. We term it as diplomatic passport. This type of passport costs, of course, much higher, 500,000. It is a passport held by diplomats, the president and the first family, the ministers, cabinet ministers, heads of recognized cultural institutions, Uganda Kingdom, Nyoro, Bugisu, Busoga, those heads, the Kabaka and what have you. They hold those diplomatic passports. Now, those are types of passports, plus other types.
Service, the green one, diplomatic, the red one.
And the blue for everyone, for every citizen. That the blue one is 250, held by every Ugandan. For as long as you have a national ID and you prove to be a Ugandan, we give you that blue passport. Now, a few, of course, advantages with the diplomatic passport, the ease with which you are handled at the airport, the VIP treatment, the ease with which you get visa. Sometimes you don't go to the embassy, these embassies to get visa. Like if you hold diplomatic passport, sometimes you don't pay for visa. So those are some of the privileges for these people holding those types of passports. But then you find some people paying for diplomatic passport and actually going to the system and putting in diplomatic passport. Now, I tell these people that if you are not sure of the type of passport to apply for, do not put it in. First come and consult. Because if you put in, getting your refund will be problematic. It will take long. They will refund the money, but it will take quite a long time, and you'll be frustrated. So why don't you come to us? Why don't you seek information? about the type of passport you are applying for, and we shall let you know. Somebody talked about charge money for picking passports. Do we charge money for picking passports? Absolutely no. We do not charge any money for picking passport. We don't charge money for enrolling. We don't charge money for taking pictures, interviews. We don't charge money, anything. We only charge money for, during the process of application, paying for the physical book. And I have told the public that it is 250 for the ordinary passport. So we do not charge money for any other service. Let me talk about this allegation of corruption. Now, the public, I am sorry to say, are the ones that propagate these corruption tendencies. Somebody, today is Monday, right? Somebody has a journal on Wednesday, and then we'll put in application today, and he wants a very quick passport. You get it? So he wants a very quick passport. Then what these people do, when they reach at the ministry, outside, even before entering, they will start asking for a very quick passport from whoever cares to listen. And of course, I told you there are brokers everywhere. These brokers are not stupid. They are looking for money. And these are the type of people they are looking for. So they will approach you promising a very quick passport. I have seen some of them even advertising on online, on Twitter, on Facebook. We are looking for them, by the way. They are promising very quick passports. So these are the people who take money, brokers. Outside there, they don't give this service. They pick money from the unsuspecting public. The public thinks for you to get a passport quickly, you must part with more money, which is not the case. So these are the people who pay money. I have never seen any immigration officer putting on a uniform with a name tag, going outside there asking for money. Well, I have never seen. If anybody alleges so, can we have this? We have introduced suggestion boxes at the ministry. Anybody serving you must have uniform and must have a name tag here bearing the name. So if somebody asks for money, and of course these days we have phones, we just you take a picture of this person and prove to us that he or she asks for money. We shall deal with those cases. But if somebody just comes and calls here, alleges, we don't know.
They take your money, then you suffer silently.
Then you
well, Simon, time is not so much. Our time is up. First, I want to thank you so much for your time, agreeing to be with us this morning. And I know now Ugandan hearts are settled. We hope in the 5 weeks you've said this will be done. But let me have your final remarks in a minute. Also focusing in the factor that we hear that our passport is one of the passports that are commonly found with non-Ugandans.
Thank you very much. Let me begin with that one. Before we migrated to the electronic passports, we had these passports that did not have biometrics like fingerprints, like iris. So these passports could be accessed by Ugandans, true. In fact, in 2000, I think in 9 or 10 there, I'm not sure about the year, they arrested 80 people in China, Beijing, with Ugandan passports doing drugs. 80. So the government of China, of course, contacted Uganda, and we had to travel to China. So when we reached China, we wanted to talk to these people because we believe they were Ugandans. When we talk to them, you'd find somebody is called Mwanga, another one is called Lutaya, then you say, Sebo, Jevaleko, where do you come from? Ofira wa Sebo, Bakuit, Tata wa Mitani, they don't understand anything. We realized that out of the 80, 79 of them were actually Nigerians with those carrying Ugandan passports. Only one was a Ugandan. Now, when we went deeper and did an investigation, we found that these passports were sold to these Nigerians in China by Ugandans themselves. Because as you know, Chinese cannot differentiate between me and Robert. No, they couldn't. So, and remember, those passports did not have items like the fingerprint, iris, and those ones. They didn't. So you would use my passport and be cleared in China. So it was very difficult. So people sold them at $5,000 each. Ugandans themselves, they sold those passports. So when we discovered that, and we returned, we gave a report, this actually formed one of the reasons why you see some of these passports are now being improved in security features. This new type of passport, it is almost impossible for a non-Ugandan to hold it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you, our viewers. Thank you for the messages that have come in. And I'll now leave you with Ruben Mpima to take you through the world of sports. Have a great morning.
Live